name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc. We got a very interesting show. This country and the world appears to be on the brink of war with Russia, and we find out that Trump come out and said he still support Putin, saying he's a genius for what he's doing in Ukraine. We're going to get into that. And there's a whole lot of other issues that we're going to get into. But first off, I want to say this. The program that you're seeing today, the executive producer of this program, and the one that helped me get the issues for my viewing audience, is none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., my wife, Terry Marsh Bradley. And the technical wherewithal that make everything happen to the best of his ability is Brother Omari. So with that being said, let me say to God be the glory, and let's get on with the story. Brother Omari, let's go with the first piece.
He was dubbed Mr. Chicago. He's laid to rest today.
Bill Williams worked to promote Chicago for nearly 4 decades. Today, hundreds turned out to pay their respects. WGN's Rob Sneed reports.
Today, so many came to Mount Calvary Baptist Church to pay their last respects to Mr. Williams. He touched so many lives.
Oh, what a forte!
So many memories shared as family and loved ones talked about Mr. Chicago, Bill Williams.
What Bill left behind is a legacy of influence, is a legacy of impact.
The 82-year-old former vice president of Chicago Convention and Tourism died February 4th. Elected leaders, past and present,
I'd like to also extend greetings on behalf of my father and family, the Reverend Jesse Jackson,
were among the crowd of hundreds.
Brother Bill Williams. I would see him at Isola's in the morning for breakfast. He would ease through Rainbow Push. Then in the afternoon, I don't know where he went, I would catch him at 6 o'clock at the start of the McCormick Place, saying, would you like to have a shine? I would see him afterwards stopping by the 50-yard line, then come back in the next morning, and I would see him at church.
Williams served his country by enlisting in the United States Marine Corps, then later received his Bachelor's of Science in Business and Marketing at Chicago State University. He continued his education, was a role model to many, and won many awards.
Bill Williams was active in the community and was a founding member of the National Coalition of Black Media Professionals, a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the NAACP, the National Urban League, Rainbow Push Coalition.
Former Chicago Mayor Richard Daley hired Williams to travel the world to promote Chicago. President Obama and countless elected officials all had ties to Williams, but his greatest accomplishment, his children.
Before my father became big time, or when he was big time, he didn't do anything without my mother. My mother's been by his side the whole time through all his accomplishments that we sit here and praise him over. My mom was there.
His family says though Williams is gone, his legacy will live on forever. Reporting on the city's south side, Rob Sneed, WGN News.
You know,
check out this verbo.
Brother Bill Williams. He was an icon for many of us from the Morgan Park area. Okay? Everybody loved him. He loved everyone. He helped raise me. He was instrumental. Him, former Senate President Emil Jones.
In the
Reverend
criminal justice
Jesse
system,
Jackson,
the people are represented.
Former Cook County Commissioner Jerry Butler. And Cecil Partee, former alderman, and former Cook County State's Attorney, Cecil Partee, were the men, along with my father, that helped mold me and made it where I was able to join the Rat Pack and North Star Masonic Order, and was able to get a pardon from the governor. Honorable man, that was my tribute to him to share with my viewing audience. the love and the honor and the respect that the people have for Bill Williams. Now, on another note, the three guys that were responsible for murdering that young man that was jogging in Georgia, the state had found them guilty and sentenced them to life. But the most important thing is that the federal courts went a step further, and the Department of Justice charged them with a hate crime for violating that young man's civil rights. I want you to see this. Look, listen, and learn. Hit that, Brother Omari.
Only at Metro by T-Mobile, you can upgrade to 5G and get more. More choices with the largest selection of free 5G phones, like the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, and more 5G coverage. Only at Metro.
What we're seeing is happening.
Justice for Ahmaud Arbery! Ahmaud Arbery's family and supporters after a federal jury found 3 men guilty of hate crimes, violating Arbery's rights by chasing him on a public street and killing him because he was black. Gregory McMichael, son Travis, and neighbor William Roddy Bryan, already convicted of murder in state court, today also found guilty of attempted kidnapping, and the McMichaels guilty of using a firearm to commit a violent crime.
I'm glad that the jurors came back with the correct verdict, and we finally got some justice for Ahmaud.
Guilty on every count after less than 4 hours of deliberations. Prosecutors telling the jury racial hatred motivated the 3 men, showing texts and social media posts laced with racial slurs, revealing Bryan was angry about his daughter's relationship with a black man. The older McMichael making disparaging remarks about black tenants renting property he owned. His son writing a message about liking his job because 0 N-words work with me.
Why do you think it's important to pursue these cases?
If you can't walk down the street without fearing being targeted because of who you are, then what kind of country can we really hope to build?
In Washington, the Attorney General vowed to prosecute more cases like this one.
I cannot imagine the pain that a mother feels to have her son run down and then gunned down.
The verdict coming on the eve of the 2-year anniversary of the fatal encounter, also designated Ahmaud Arbery Day, to honor him by Georgia's legislature.
The 3 men convicted of killing Arbery, already serving life in prison, now each face the possibility of another life sentence, guilty of committing a hate crime.
Introducing Eminem's album art packs.
I'm showing this because this is Black History Month. But this is our history and we need to pay attention. This is 2022. We're seeing where the Republican Party is talking about they want to suppress our right to vote. They try to treat us as subhumans. But we're seeing that there's a change. We're about to witness where an African-American woman will be on the Supreme Court. A black woman. We're seeing where now individuals, black or white, I'm saying black or white, because understand this, a hate crime is a hate crime. And if blacks keep shooting up our community, killing innocent women and children, innocent people, that's pure hate. That is no love. And the people are going to be pushing to the Department of Justice to deal with individuals that's involved in senseless violence and shootings within, I'm just speaking about our community. In any community. Whether it's white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime or Hispanic on Hispanic crime, I'm speaking about black on black crime. That's my responsibility. That's my accountability. And that is hate. And if they saying there's a hate crime for white people to kill blacks and saying all lives matter, brothers, I'm here to tell you, man, what you witnessing is going to come back and grab you. And the community gonna say this. To God be the glory, because vengeance belongs to God. And on that note, we're going to get to crime. The audacity of crime. Whether it's an informant that happened to get caught doing wrong, and what I'm saying and what you're going to witness, he got caught so many times doing wrong, but he's always to say, hey, go over there, there's somebody else doing wrong. The informant. Pay attention to this story. Brother Murray, hit this story.
WGN Investigates first broke last week takes another unexpected twist. A man arrested this month for allegedly throwing heroin out of the window of a car owned by the head of internal affairs for the Chicago Police Department is the same person who provided police with the bad information that ultimately led to the botched raid at the home of Anjanette Young back in 2019. Kenneth Miles was arrested on February 1st and charged with possession of a controlled substance after officers say they saw him throw more than $6,000 worth of heroin from a vehicle owned by Yolanda Talley, the police department's chief of internal affairs. Sources tell WGN Investigates that Miles was previously arrested in February of 2019, and after that arrest, Miles told police that an illegal gun was stored in the home of Anjanette Young, leading officers to raid the house. Well, no weapons were ever found in Young's home, and body cam footage of the raid, which showed Young was forced to stand naked in her home, sparked widespread outrage last December. The city council approved a $2.9 million settlement in Young's lawsuit against the city.
What am I looking at here?
This is what great sleep looks like.
What thing I'm going to say about that? What he did was so bogus and atrocious. Good. What he did that was so bogus and atrocious. He lied. And then later on he got caught in another case getting rid of drugs, and he was an informant. And you may be an informant for one alphabet, be it the FBI, DEA, or whatever it is. Behind him lying, and they went to the
How you doing, man?
You saw what happened with that woman. And I'm not saying, from what I've read and from what I saw in the news, the woman, the officer that's over internal affairs, she had lent her car to her niece. She wasn't aware of what her niece was doing and didn't pay attention to who her niece was around. Because I'm sure, had she been aware fully of who her niece was dealing with, she would have made sure when she saw her niece and that guy, she wouldn't have let them into her house, let alone let them use her car. So I'm not saying she's a party to the crime or any of that. I'm just going what I saw in the news, reporting the news, and we talking about crime. We got a very important election that's coming up. In June 28th, 2022. And I've been saying it constantly on this show. We do not have the luxury of taking a chance of letting a Republican become the Secretary of State or become the governor of this state. I believe that when an individual gives their word to someone, they need to stand on their word. I gave my word to the governor. He gave his word to me as far as being a part of his team to help him to remain the governor of Illinois, because I helped him to become the governor of Illinois. A man's name is only as good as his word. So I'm with the governor. Also, I gave my word to county board president and the chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party that whomever the Cook County Democratic Party slated for the Secretary of State, I would stand with that person. Because I understand the power of a man's word. The Cook County Democratic Party made the decision to slate this man that I'm going to show to you right now. Brother Omari, hit this, please.
Well, you know, I'm Gator. I'm your friend. I'm a registered voter. And I believe that you're going to be next to the greatest Secretary of State, Jesse White. Because of the service that I know that you will put in, and I know that you would uphold a legacy that he's going to leave. Could you share with me your vision for the Secretary of State?
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. My name is Alexi Janulius, running for Secretary of State, and I want to continue Secretary Jesse White's legacy of public service, what it means to truly help others. We're going to focus on making sure that we fight for voting rights, that we modernize the office so that people aren't waiting 3 hours in line at the DMV anymore. That's going to be an enormously important piece. Also, as the state's librarian, we want to make sure that we have an equitable library system that helps everyone. So I'm excited about the opportunity to continue Jesse White's legacy of public service. I'd be honored to have the support of so many people. And I was raised in a family where we taught the importance of community, helping others, empathy, and being a part of a larger community.
Right. You know, for my viewing audience, I want to share this with you. He and my son went to school at Tulane together. And my son brought to my attention about the little ponytail you used to have on your head when you were playing basketball, man.
Well, I'm a retired basketball player. After I stopped playing professionally, I grew my hair out. That was probably a fashion mistake, but we all learn from our youth.
Right, but one thing for sure, it's not going to be a mistake if you vote for this man to be the next Secretary of State. Let me say that again. It would not be a mistake if you elect this man to become the next Secretary of State. And with that, I want to say that the Bradley Report, to God be the glory, that's our story. Vote, don't choke.
You know, I know that people have made other endorsements of who they want to be with, and if they gave them individuals they were, I respect it. I just want to clarify a point that my word, when I give it to someone and they give me their word, it means a lot to me. And especially when a lot of people look up to me to help them understand the importance of why they must vote. And my motive, play that right there for me. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Amari.
Now, I know that there are a lot of elected officials in this room, but I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Alexi Janulius, who's our candidate for Secretary of State, a statewide candidate, and Commissioner Donna Miller, who serves with me in Cook County Board of Commissioners. I know there are others who will acknowledge further the elected in this room, but I want to be sure that I, in addition to our sponsors and co-hosts, I acknowledge the two of them. You know, I'm a history teacher, and my favorite quote from Dr. Martin Luther King is, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And I always add that it doesn't bend of its own volition. It takes hard work from all of us to bend the arc. So I want to thank everybody in this room for the good work that you do each and every day, promoting justice and equity in our communities. I want to particularly acknowledge Pastor Singleton, because I know that he has been a leader in this community in encouraging people to be vaccinated. And the big challenge we face at the moment is getting all of our residents vaccinated and boosted. We have more than 120 people in the hospital, Cook County Hospital, Stroger. Only one of them, has been vaccinated and boosted. 2/3 of them are unvaccinated. 2/3 of the people in our hospital, who are in a hospital, are unvaccinated. It's critical. It's critical, if we're going to mitigate the effects of the pandemic, that we get people vaccinated and boosted. And whenever I speak to folks, I ask them to be evangelists for vaccination. Usually we think of evangelism in religious terms. I'm asking you to be evangelists for vaccination. We're not going to be able to recover, either in terms of health care or our economy, until we get as many people as we possibly can vaccinated. So I'm thankful for your presence here today. I'm grateful to Pastor and First Lady Singleton for bringing us all together, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Yes, this is the Bradley Report, and y'all know I'm Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the urban translator. I'm also the president of United Peace, Inc. One of the things that's very important, Madam President, we've talked about this, and the importance of people getting vaccinated. Could you explain the importance of them being vaccinated and the fact of what's happening with the Cook County hospital system?
Right. Well, first of all, Gator, thank you very much for having me on your program. I'm grateful. Now, this is a really difficult time for Cook County. We've got more people in our hospital with COVID than any time in the past 2 years. I'm going to say that again. More people with COVID in our hospitals than any time in the past 2 years. And 2/3, 2 out of 3 of every person in the hospital with COVID is unvaccinated. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. 2/3 of the people who are in our hospital with COVID are unvaccinated.
And that makes them really the problem of keeping this virus grow and grow and grow.
That's right. And the more people who are unvaccinated, the more the virus kind of bounces around and has a chance to mutate. And we have a new variant. We've had Delta, we've had Omicron. Who knows, we may have another one, because we've still got a significant portion of our people who are not vaccinated. So whenever I speak, I encourage people to be vaccinated, not just for yourself, but for everybody you care about. Because if you get the disease and maybe it's mild, you may give it to your grandmother or your aunt or your cousin who has some long-standing health issues like diabetes. Many of our folks have diabetes or high blood pressure or asthma, and they may not have a mild case as you would. So you want to protect yourself, and you want to protect everybody you love by being vaccinated.
You know, for my viewing audience, I'm a vaccinated card-carrying member. Something else, Cook County Jail. I was reading where the COVID has took an upshot or uptick within there.
Yeah, the problem we have, of course, is the jail reflects the larger population. And when the virus is spreading in the larger population, it's also in the jail. And the difference between people outside the jail and people in is it's a congregate facility. People are kind of packed close together. And so it's harder to keep control of the virus in the jail. So we got to do everything we can to see that the community outside the jail is protected, because that helps protect us everywhere we are, including the jail, detained in the jail.
I want to say on this note, this is the political time of the year. And like I tell my viewing audience, vote, don't choke. What's your message to those that aren't registered, should get registered, by you being the chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party? What's your message to all the voters?
If you want government that cares about you and that acts in your interest, you got to put people in office who care about you and will act in your interest. And the only way you can do that is if you're registered and voting. Okay? So I always say the first obligation of any citizen is voting. The second obligation is to help and support people who you believe are good candidates. But first and foremost, you got to vote. And that means you got to be registered.
So if you can't register, you can't scream. No,
That's right.
You can't scream. If you ain't registered, you can't scream.
Don't complain if you aren't voting, okay?
Madam President, again, I want to thank you.
Thanks very much, Gator.
All right, then.
Thank you.
You know, I got two more things that I want to bring to you. Because, like I said earlier when I opened up, we're on the brink of being at war. Because of what's happened in Ukraine. I'm seeing on the news how they coming back and saying the whole world was shocked. Right there. The whole world was shocked when we see Biden orders more U.S. troops to Eastern Europe amid Russia and Ukraine's tensions. And what gets me is the people in the Republican Party and those that supporting Trump and his madness when he was weak. Putin carried him around the world stage like he was a puppy dog. Putin met with Trump on the world stage and told him, come in this room, I want to talk to you, and you cannot bring your Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense. You can't even bring your translator in here. But Putin had his people going there. The media didn't know in America what was happening until Putin had his media people put it out. And imagine if Trump would have got reelected. Him having control over the United States president and congressmen and senators would have let it go by the wayside on what he was doing. They finding out to the point that the former president led an insurrection against Biden and our legal transformation of power by law, where they attacked the capital of the United States, where they had individuals that fraudulently were submitting documents saying that they were electoral votes. This you seeing on the news like I'm seeing on the news. And by law, individuals that's a part of the insurrection or sedation or whatever they want to call it are not allowed to be in office by law of this government. So this happened Tuesday. Let me see the next story, Brother Omari. Where it says, Putin, yes. The headline reads, Trump praises Putin's genius as GOP fixtures grow on the Ukraine crisis at a time when this government is on the brink of support, and the world leaders are on the brink of supporting a sovereign government, because Putin is on the brink of starting a war. Look at this picture. Look at this picture. This is a man that got support from a foreign government in the 2016 election. All the evidence is coming out. So he calls disruption in the country. Now everyone wants to really know what type of conversation did the president, former president of the United States, had in the room where he wasn't allowed to bring in no other American to be dictated by Putin. People, if Putin is the enemy to America and there's a war, anybody that's siding with him is going to end up wearing that tag by law. That's why he was against, talking about the former president was against the January 6th committee to find out what really happened, who played a part in it. He tried to stop his papers from being released to that committee. He even got caught with taking 15 boxes of information to his house in Mar-a-Lago, which was illegal. Could you pull this story up and go up? I want them to hear what I'm saying. So you know, this ain't no, hit that button right there. Yes, sir, hit that. That's why we can't
signaling no compromise. Vladimir Putin this morning said Russia is always open to direct and honest dialogue, but that its security concerns, which he said include NATO expansion, are non-negotiable. Addressing Russians, he praised the country's military, saying it would continue to develop cutting-edge weapons, including evasive hypersonic missiles. The Pentagon believes Russia has already deployed them near Poland, along with the 150,000-plus troops ringing Ukraine. Hours before Putin spoke, Ukraine's President Zelensky mobilized his national reserves, vowing never to give in as Ukraine edges closer to an open war that threatens the stability of all of Europe. This is what it's like now to live in Ukrainian villages near pro-Russian separatists. The Ukrainian Interior Ministry, which posted the video, said separatist fire here killed one man. The separatists have dramatically increased their attacks over the last several days, goading the Ukrainian military to respond now that they have protection from President Putin, who yesterday extended the goalposts, saying he doesn't just recognize the independence of Russian-speaking separatists in territory they already control, but also in vast areas now firmly in the hands of the Ukrainian government, including the Soviet-era industrial port city of Mariupol, home to 450,000 people. Last night, protesters gathered in this city to support their government. People here are getting nervous. Among them, Victoria, a 28-year-old musician and missionary, along with her husband and son.
I can say I have all of our documents with me in my backpack in case something starts. I also feel brave because I know that these people will never give up.
Putin describes Ukraine as a historic part of Russia that needs to be saved from its NATO-loving puppet government.
We don't feel that we have to be saved by him because we speak Russian.
Do you think that he's going to stop?
I'm afraid that he wants to keep going.
And if he does keep going, what does that mean for you, for the people here?
It doesn't mean that it's a time of peace. It means it's a time of sadness. It's a time of war, of death.
And Savannah, just in the last few minutes, while that report was airing, we heard more rounds fired from the separatist areas landing in Ukraine. And the Ukrainian government said that it is now taking steps toward implementing a state of emergency. Savannah?
All right, Richard Engel right there. Thank you very much.
Now go down some, brother Omar. Come down some more. No, it's on the same thing. What you had up there. You come down. Come down. Okay, hit right there. Yeah, hit that right there.
Why wait until retirement to have fun? Tastyworks IRAs allow you to directly manage your own money in a flexible
response to what is happening.
/IRA. Love where you trade.
This morning, President Biden taking a tougher stance with Russian President Vladimir Putin after Putin ordered what he's calling peacekeeping forces into 2 regions of eastern Ukraine.
Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors? This is a flagrant violation of international law.
The president, for the first time Tuesday, called Russia's move an invasion.
This is the beginning of a Russian invasion.
The president also slapping stiff new sanctions on Russia, targeting 2 large banks and imposing penalties on Russian debt, which the president says means Moscow can no longer raise money from the U.S. and Europe, while also sanctioning several Russian elites with close ties to Putin. And the president warned he's prepared to do more. The top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee expressed support for the sanctions, but urged the president not to let up.
I think the president's announcement is a good first tranche of sanctions, but cannot be the end of it.
But some Republicans say they still fall short. Senator Lindsey Graham calling them woefully inadequate to deter Putin's efforts to redraw the European map and dismember a neighboring democracy. The president also ordering U.S. troops and equipment already in Europe to bolster allies in the Baltic region, including the former Soviet republics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, but insisting the U.S. has no intention of direct armed conflict.
Let me be clear. These are totally defensive moves on our part. We have no intention of fighting Russia.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced Tuesday he's canceling a planned meeting with his Russian counterpart, meaning talks of a possible meeting between Presidents Biden and Putin are not in the works at this point. Still, the president insisting.
The United States and our allies and partners remain open to diplomacy if it is serious.
Now, the president also vowed he would use every tool to try to limit the effect of the sanctions he announced on gas prices here. As you know, Americans are already dealing with record high inflation and prices at the pump, and the White House acknowledged those prices could spike in the coming months if global oil supplies are impacted. So the president said he plans to closely monitor energy supplies for any disruption, but he did not map out specific steps he plans to take beyond that. A big concern for a lot of Americans. Savannah.
All right, Kristen Walker at the White House, thank you.
Now, you know,
my husband and I use Express Scripts Pharmacy. They take care of every
individuals from Fox News commentators and everything, because I got to wrap this show up. Y'all saying what I'm saying. My show is not as long as the other news shows, so I'm just informing you. You got individuals. You saying it, don't act like you don't see it, know it. They're saying they in support of what Putin is doing. From the former president today, yesterday, coming out and saying that what he's doing, he's a genius, he's still in support of this man. So America, you cannot side with individuals that's against democracy as we know it in America. And they're siding with an individual that's about destroying not only America, but democracy, to bring on a total peace. This man is known for making sure it's only one type of media. This man is, and Trump tried to do the same thing. All the moves that Trump was doing in America, even to the point when he convinced them people to attack the Capitol, he was acting as if he was Putin in America. When he pushed to make sure that he get the type of Supreme Court that we got now, because his plan was, whatever happens, if I got control of the courts, I can do whatever I can want to do. But the courts showed him that he couldn't. Because at the end of the day, regardless if they were appointed by a Republican or a Democrat, they was true to the oath that they signed of honoring the Constitution. And President Trump wasn't true when he swore under oath to be about the Constitution. I want to say this, and I got to go. Like I said, a man's name is only as good as his word. And a woman's name is only as good as her word. And I gave my word that I'm going to stand true blue for the re-election of J.B. Pritzker to be governor of Illinois. Because we can't afford to have a Republican to become the governor of Illinois. Especially if the candidates that they got that's running is tied to the coattails of Ronna and those that supported Ronna and those who are Trumptonians that support Trump. And he gave me his word that he want me to be a part of his team to make sure that that don't happen, so that the people would not be tricked. I ain't talked to his campaign people. I've been talking to his campaign people, and they all of a sudden stopped talking. But I ain't depending on his campaign people. I'm depending on the governor to keep his word. I gave my word to Cook County Board President and Chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party, Tony Preckwinkle, that whomever the Cook County Democratic Party endorsed for the Secretary of State, I would stand with that decision. And they picked Alexi Giannoulias, and when I talked to him, I gave him my word, and he gave me his word. So with that, I want to say to God be the glory. That's my story. If you haven't got vaccinated, please get vaccinated. And wear your mask, even though I know they're going to say you no longer have to wear your mask. But do what you feel you have to do to keep yourself healthy. That's me. I'm out of here.